When the original Top Gun came out over 30 years ago, it did a great job of showcasing exactly what sort of crazy stuff pilots could do when let loose in a fighter jet. However, with the return of Tom Cruise in the upcoming Top Gun Maverick, it seems like the crew is ready to turn things up to 11 this time around. First, the original Top Gun was actually pretty accurate. Whenever you sit down to watch the original Top Gun movie, the first thing that comes to your mind is, whoa, Tom Cruise looks super young. Once you've gotten over that, though, you see all the crazy acrobatics and maneuvers that these dudes do in the fighter jets, and you think to yourself, wait, is this actually real? And the answer to that would be mostly yes. So everything from those insane rolling backflips to dive bombing upside down is pretty accurate and doable in real life. Don't take our word for it, though, as aerobatic pilot Bernardo Malfitano sat down with popular mechanics earlier and told us all about the stunts in the OG Top Gear and the upcoming Top Gun Maverick. According to him, the first movie was pretty realistic and the majority of work was actually done with real planes and real flying rather than models or CGI. For instance, even during the dogfighting scenes, the specific moves were taken straight from a real pilot's arsenal, like the rolling scissors maneuver, which gives you an advantage against the enemy plane. Of course, back in the day, none of the cast members, including Tom Cruise, were actually trained to be stunt pilots, and all they had to do was fly alongside trained pilots. However, just sitting in those cockpits can be pretty challenging, as the G-force you'd have to withstand during those maneuvers in an F-18 fighter jet are insanely high. Next up, Tom Cruise was the only one who could withstand the G-forces. We all know Tom Cruise as the guy who, even in his late 50s, is ready to put his body on the line and pull off some incredible stunts. And this was true 30 years ago too, when he was filming the OG movie. Not only that, but according to the movie's producer, Jerry Bruckheimer, Cruise was the only one able to withstand the G-forces of flying in a fighter plane. Now these planes can go up to 8 or 9 Gs, which is like feeling 9 times the force of gravity. Most untrained people would probably pass out if they experienced this force. Not the Mission Impossible actor though. That man is built like a machine, and now, as he steps into his jumpsuit again for Top Gun Maverick, he's already a real pilot. However, it seems like the filmmakers are taking a much more liberal approach when it comes to the stunts this time around. You see, while the initial movie obviously had some over-the-top stuff that wasn't realistic, especially when it comes to the aviator lifestyle, most of the actual moves were pretty doable if a trained pilot wanted to pull them off. In Top Gun Maverick, though, the crew have turned things up a notch, but in that process, they've also lost a bit of that realism. How exactly? Let's find out. And now, Maverick takes some liberties with its realism. Reacting to the new trailers for Top Gun Maverick, Malfitano claims that he was surprised to see that the plane maneuvers depicted in the sequels were less realistic. According to him, this could be a side effect of Hollywood's obsession with fighter jets doing backflips, which obviously looks super dope on screen, but isn't really something you can do these days. In fact, even though modern planes have something called thrust vectoring, which is supposed to make these moves easier, something like a backflip is still barely doable. However, Maverick's character is supposed to be one of the best pilots around, so if there's a remote chance of anyone pulling something off, then he's gonna do it as well. Next up, Top Gun Maverick uses the wrong jet for some of its moves. For instance, in one of the scenes in Maverick, we see a Sukhoi Su-57 plane performing a move called a Pugachev Cobra. First performed by Soviet test pilot Viktor Pugachev in 1989, this move involves the pilot pulling up on his flight stick and going fully vertical with the nose of the plane. Now, the problem with doing such a thing is that the plane needs to have a thrust-to-weight ratio higher than 1, or you're gonna stall and fall out of the sky. Oh, and of course, even with thrust vectoring, you need the engines to fire hard to maintain altitude. Usually, that wouldn't be an issue, as the plane like the Su-57 or an F-22 is perfectly capable of pulling off such a move, even though the physics of it all seems kind of on edge. However, since this maneuver is performed by an FA-18 in Top Gun Maverick, that's where things start to get kinda iffy. You see, according to our expert Malfitano, the FA-18s don't usually come with thrust vectoring capabilities, so unless they've been added after the fact, such a move probably isn't possible. And now, Maverick will introduce us to the space plane. He also weighed in on some other things about the movie, like Maverick wearing a pressure suit and piloting a hypersonic plane. Now, there are planes that do have a similar configuration to the mystery jet shown in the trailer, like Lockheed's SR-72 and Boeing's Mach 5, but they're still not quite what you'd call a space plane. While we're sure many companies are currently developing a plane that combines a jet and a rocket, it's still kind of a pipe dream as of yet. So, if we see Tom Cruise slingshot himself into outer space in a space jet, then that's probably not super real. Maybe we shouldn't pay close attention to its physics. However, the aim of the movie is to entertain first and foremost, and if they have some super cool airplane move that may or may not be physically possible, we won't complain. Now, in other news, Tom Cruise attends star-studded Top Gun Maverick premiere. After so many years since the original, it would have been a shame if the release of Top Gun Maverick wasn't a massive event. However, Tom Cruise and the crew didn't disappoint, as they held the premiere in San Diego with fighter jets, Navy ships, and of course, a bunch of die-hard fans. Set to release on May 27th, this initial showing had all the stars from the movie on the red carpet. Actors like Jennifer Connelly, Monica Barbaro, and Miles Teller strolled and posed in front of a sea of cameras as fans screamed out for any chance of a photo or an autograph. However, it was Tom Cruise who was the star of the show. The 59-year-old never fails to woo people with his appearances, and his entrance at the premiere was no different. He rocked up in a USS Midway helicopter, which said Tom Cruise Top Gun Maverick on its side. And of course, he was looking incredibly dapper as he stepped out of the chopper and casually walked to the red carpet. Marvel's Spider-Man 4 will bring back familiar faces. Spider-Man No Way Home was a seismic event when it was released earlier this year. Not only was it an incredible MCU movie, but the way it brought Spider-Man and villains from other eras of the character all together was something that no one had even imagined in their wildest dreams. However, if you've watched the movie, you'd know that it didn't quite end on the most hopeful of notes. And from the looks of things, it seemed like this could be the final movie for many of the regular cast members, like Zendaya, as, spoilers, she doesn't even remember who Peter Parker is at the end. So many fans theorized that maybe this would lead to Peter meeting and getting along with his Gwen Stacy, and we could see things switch around. A new report, though, suggests that Spider-Man 4 will see the return of not only Zendaya, but also the Spider-Man No Way Home director John Watts. And of course, Tom Holland was already pretty much confirmed for the next movie. Now, since the last movie left the door open for so many possibilities in terms of stories, we're not quite sure whether Jacob Batalon would also reprise his role as Ned Leeds, but we probably shouldn't hold our breaths for an official announcement, as anything of that sort is still quite far in the future. Christian Bale's Gore is the best MCU villain yet. We're only a couple of months away from finally getting to see the next MCU adventure in Thor: Love and Thunder. Until now, most of the talk about the movie has been laser focused on Thor, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and Natalie Portman's Jane Foster. However, according to the film's director, Taika Waititi, we should be paying close attention to the villain Gore, who's being played by none other than Christian Bale. Speaking to AP, the Jojo Rabbit director said that, in his opinion, Christian Bale is probably the best villain that Marvel's ever had. Of course, we know how great of an actor Bale is, thanks to his many incredible roles in movies like American Psycho and The Dark Knight. But whether his portrayal of Gore is going to be better than other beloved Marvel villains like Thanos, Killmonger, and Agatha remains to be seen. But hey, Taika Waititi sure knows what he's talking about, so for now, we'll believe him. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think that Gore will turn out to be a better villain than the Mad Titan? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.